Hi guys. So I want to talk about times I got ripped off by dealers, and there were many. When I was like a young teenager, me and my friends used to get ripped off on weed all the time. Very badly as well. And I think the frequency of it was unusual because generally people who got ripped off that much were people who didn't usually buy weed. Most people, I think, learn very quickly how to avoid being ripped off constantly, or they just don't really smoke weed much. We smoked a lot, and we got ripped off a lot. Obviously, the main thing is just really small bags. We used to get a lot of really small bags, and we would not really try to argue. We would just sort of take it away to wherever we were going to smoke and be sort of devastated by it. But another thing that would occasionally happen was where instead of giving us a shit bag, the person would just take our money. They would say that they had to go and get it for us. They'd be like, "All right, give me 20 quid. I'll go and get you an eighth." No, it was 25. Sorry, 20 is. When I moved back to London, it was 20s and 10s. In Devon, where I first started smoking weed, it was eighths and tenths. So it was like a 16th and an eighth. And the idea was a tenth would actually be like 1.7 or whatever. And an eighth was 3.5, and you'd pay £12.50 or 25. It was a bit annoying to pay £12.50. But the good thing was that these sizes conformed to an actual measurement. Whereas in London it was a 20 bag or a 10 bag, and that has no specific weight that it's meant to be, and those just kept getting smaller and smaller. I found it depended on what part of London you were in, but it could be a 20 bag could be anything from 1.3 grams to 2.4 or something. It was never a good bag. A 2.4, you'd be very lucky to get 2.4 for 20 off a normal dealer who wasn't your friend. So in Devon they had this system, and for people who were respected, it worked very well because there was an actual measurement it was supposed to be. So the bags were quite decent, just a bit more expensive. The £12.50 again was always annoying. You can't subtly pass someone a £10 note with two £1 coins and a 50p, or maybe it's 20s and 20p's and stuff. And some dealers would do that annoying thing where they're like, "No, I don't want change. You can't give me change." And it's you live in Devon. You sell tenths. You have to accept change at some point, But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, one thing they would do, they would say, I need to go and get it. You can give me the money and I'll go and get it for you, and I'll just have a little bit because I'm getting it for you as a favour. This would usually happen when we were desperate, and presumably when they didn't have enough in to just give us a tiny shit bag of their own and just take the money. So they would have to do a slightly more elaborate scheme to rip us off, and they would frequently just disappear. They would just never come back. They wouldn't answer their phone. Their phone would be off all day. This would often happen as well when we were just getting a completely random person to sort for us. There were times when no one we knew had anything. We couldn't get any weed. We would just ask people we didn't really want to ask. When we were desperate, we'd go to the park and find sort of shitheads, and we'd think they're probably going to rip us off, but we'd just do it anyway. One time it was particularly humiliating because they were kids. They were definitely a lot younger than us, and they fucking took our money as well. Even they weren't afraid of us. We were the most easily rip-offable people ever, basically. It's unbelievable. In hindsight, it's just unbelievable. It's funny. I would have ripped us off. It was crazy. I found out later on from someone else that I didn't find this out till years later, but it made everything make sense suddenly. There was a kind of ongoing game almost to see who could rip us off the worst. They would show each other the bags they were going to give us before they gave them to us, and just keep like one-upping each other, because a lot of them knew each other, you know, and they would like, yeah, they just made a thing out of it to see who could rip us off the worst, which is pretty fucking hilarious, to be fair. Yeah, I remember one time this guy did it, and like, we used to quite regularly give the money first and then actually get weed, you know, like most of the time it did work. Like it had you know, probably a 7 or 8 out of 10 success rate, which is not good really, but it's still, you know, like you might as well try if there's nothing else. And then one time we were arranging to pick up like alongside other people who didn't normally smoke, and they were like, "Are you sure this is fine to give the money first? Like, shouldn't we get the weed first?" And we're like, no, this is completely normal. We do this all the time. Just trust us. This is fine. You're being really annoying, you know? We were like, shut up. Like, just listen to what we say. You know, we were like adamant that it was fine. And I in particular was getting really irritated at the suggestion that it was a bad idea. And of course, we gave the guy 50 quid. Like, it was like 25 of our money and 25 of theirs. And he just fucking disappeared. We saw him. It was like a very small town. I remember seeing him at some point, and he was on his motorbike, and we started chasing him. And it wasn't like an aggressive chasing. It wasn't like, we're going to throw you off the bike and beat you up. It was like, hey, wait, hey, like trying to like get his attention. He'd obviously seen us driving past and just carried on. And we continued to buy off this guy for many years. I can't even remember what kind of ridiculous excuses they would fob us off with, but yeah, we used to just take it. We would just be like, what? Oh man. Dude, are you sure? Are you sure you haven't got it, dude? Oh man. Oh, what the hell? Oh no, Jesus. Right. Oh, right. Bye. And then we'd be like, what a dick, Jesus, he took our money, oh damn, and then just like do nothing. We would just do absolutely nothing about it. Yeah. Nice little non-alcoholic shandy I've got myself. Yeah, actually it's 0.5%. I remember watching Dragon's Den, and they had a non-alcoholic beverage, and Deborah Meaden was like, hang on, this has 0.5%. And the guy said, yeah, but that's the same as what a banana would have anyway. I took his word for it. It sounds strange to me, because that sounds like then if you ate like 20 bananas, you would get drunk, but maybe I'm just a bit dense when it comes to how that works. Chemistry wise, but yeah, so they used to rip us off constantly, and I hope you can't hear that drilling. That's so fucking annoying. They keep starting. Oh man, is that being picked up? Yep. Fucking douchebags. They always start it in the evening. So annoying. Anyway, that used to happen a lot, and the bags were frequently just really, really wet, and sort of small bags, like there would be really wet homegrown weed, and you'd get it and it would be wrapped in cling film, and it would be like the size, like a £12.50 bag would be like the size of like sometimes it'd be like a bit bigger than a kidney bean, you know. It'd be like a big kidney bean. No, a bit bigger than a big kidney bean. One of those other types of beans, the slightly bigger ones, you know, the ones that are like bigger than a kidney bean, probably about double the size of a kidney bean, but that kind of shape, just like a little wet like bean of weed. And you get it and you'd like peel it apart, and it was dark green and like leafy, and you couldn't grind it. If you wanted to, you had to like sort of shred it and sprinkle it and let it dry out. But we didn't smoke indoors at this point in time. We used to just smoke outdoors, because we were like, you know, kids basically. Like, we couldn't smoke at home. Couldn't just be like, budge up, mum, I'm caning a spliff. So we, it was very difficult. It was very difficult to smoke this weed, you know, really was. So yeah, for years we just didn't really do anything. Maybe not years. Yeah, years probably, not like loads of years, but for quite a while basically we didn't do anything. And then I remember one time me and a mate decided, like, we need to say something, we need to do something now. And we were really psyching ourselves up. We were waiting. He was going to meet us in the Spa car park. Spa is like a little sort of chain of very small convenience stores. And we were waiting in the Spa car park. And he came along. And having never said anything about this before, he gave us the bag. He gave me the bag. And I looked at it and I went, "Where's the rest of it?" And he went, "Oh, yeah. Shit." And he went into his pocket and he was like fumbling around. And then he was like, "Oh," and he took out his grinder. I thought it was really weird that he had his grinder on him. And he took out his grinder and he opened it. And there was an unground bud that I guess was from our bag. And when you added it to ours, it made more or less an okay teenth. And he was like, "Yeah, there you go." And we were like, "Cool, cheers." And he just walked off. And we were like, "Yeah, nice, we finally stood up for ourselves." We were like fist bumping and shit. But we were like quite nervous. It's like in Breaking Bad, you know, that where he first does the thing at Tuco's place and then he gets in the car and he's like, "Ah!" And he's like shaking the wheel. We sort of felt a bit like that. It was like a real adrenaline surge. And we felt like afraid of this newfound power. Because basically it like doubled the size of our bag. And it was like, why did you like, why was it in your grinder? Why did you have your grinder with you? Why did you just give it to us if you're going to rip us off in the first place? Why didn't you think, like, where's the rest of it? Is like a weird question. Just everything about it was comical. Where's the rest of it? Not like, why is it a small bag? Or like, why have you ripped us off? Just assuming that the rest of it was there. And the rest of it was actually there, like in his pocket, in his grinder. It was like I somehow knew that the rest of it was somewhere nearby. Where's the rest of it? Oh, man. That was so good. Yeah, that same guy once sold us like the worst bag I've ever had in my life. The worst bag that had actual weed in it, you know, like there were some fake bags. I'll get onto that. But I must write that down actually. I'm just writing my notes so I remember the various incidents. Because there were some pretty bad ones at festivals, from what I remember. Yeah. It's not sort of unrelated, but I just remembered one time at a festival we had like some weed, and I think we saw a guy coming in a high vis, and then we like put it under the thing of the tent, the bottom layer. And this guy came over and he was basically our age. He was maybe like 1 or 2 years older than us, this like fat Scottish guy. And he was like, "Yeah, I need to search your tents." And we were like, "What?" And then just because he had a high vis, we let him search us. Like, he wasn't security, he wasn't the police, he was a steward. And he just came over and was like, "I need to search your tents." And he started looking around. He was like on all fours and shit. I can't remember if he took some weed from us. I think maybe he found our weed and just walked off with it. He did something, I don't remember. But it was very clear that he was basically just looking for drugs to steal. Fucking ridiculous scheme. Anyway, yeah, the guy who had the rest of our weed in his grinder, he sold us the worst bag I've ever had, definitely. Yeah, that was one that was like, it was literally the size of like, probably like this time we really are talking almost kidney bean size, basically, and really bad weed and soaking wet. I think that was the last straw before the "where's the rest of it" incident. I think that was what happened. I remember we went up onto the moors to smoke it, and it was just like, it's just, we'd gotten a bit old for it, basically. We were a bit older, and it was like, this is really undignified. Like, this shouldn't be happening, you know? We shouldn't tolerate this. And from then on, it was a genuine turning point, and I guess we went and shared this info with the other, you know, like, we can just ask for the rest of the weed and they will give it to us. And I think generally we got ripped off less from then on by those people. But there were various other incidents. Yeah, one time in Camden, we were just visiting there, me and a friend, like, when we were just visiting for like a short just like a weekend. We'd come from Devon to there. And in Camden, obviously, it's like very easy to get weed if you're not a fucking idiot. But we were like asking people. We went to shops that sold weed t-shirts and stuff, I think. And we were like asking like where. And they were like, just wait for a Jamaican guy and then just like follow them and ask. So we followed this guy and we asked, and he was a bit weird. And then he was like, yeah, meet me at this place at this time or whatever. And then we went there to meet him and he was like, here, quick, take it. There's police coming or something. And then we took it. And it was literally just a bag of wood shavings, which was particularly low. He obviously knew we were tourists, so he thought there's no point of trying to get repeat custom. So I'll just fucking sell him a bunch of wood for 25 quid or 20 quid, whatever it was. That was annoying. Yeah, and then one time I was when I was at uni, I was living in student halls, and I kind of mentioned this incident before in my Savile, in a video I did about Savile, because I almost worked on that Savile show, right? And then this weekend sorry, I'm slurring my words. This weekend is where I was meant to meet this girl who I was going to like confess my feelings for or whatever. And there was a time I did meet her. There was a time I did meet up with her prior to all of this, like a few months before, which is why I thought we might meet again, you know, because I met up with her and I said you know, like maybe we'll do some drugs or whatever. And I had these blue question mark pills that I'd bought from this guy I met on a night out. He seemed like a weirdo. Max, his name was. And I had these pills and she came to visit and she obviously thought I was like really weird, you know, was like not attracted to me at all. But I think she just was visiting just out of intrigue because we used to speak online a lot, and also maybe being nice a bit, or maybe was curious, like thought maybe he's less weird in you know what I mean? I don't know, but basically like there wasn't a vibe between us, that's for sure. And I don't remember if I'd already taken some when she got there. I think she got there and she was like, I don't want anything. And I was like, cool, I'm just going to do pills by myself. And I had a bag of like 5 of them. And Luna, can you stop licking your vagina, please? Luna. Yeah. That's all it takes is just a distraction and she'll stop licking her vagina. If I could lick my own fucking genitals, it would take a lot more than snapping of fingers to stop me. It would just be the sort of shame and humiliation that would stop me, you know, which would set in probably after doing it about 8, 9, 10, 11 times, you know, like throughout my sort of teen years, my sort of peak degenerate horny years. And even then, I think even at that, I think I would have been like, this is really an experience I don't want to repeat. And then once in a while, like after a year, I'd probably be like, let me try sucking myself off again. Maybe I'll like it this time. Maybe I detach from the sucking part and I just focus on the being sucked part, you know. And I'd just be like, not worth it, you know. And then like just every once in a while, but I think it probably would have stopped. Probably even by the age of like 18 or 19, I would have just been like, with great power comes great responsibility. And with this particular power, the responsibility you have is to never use it. Yeah, so can you stop panting as well, Luna, please? Jesus. Got them doing DIY and fucking in the evening, every evening. And you just sat here panting like a psycho. Do you want to leave? Is that what it is? Do you want me to open the door? 1 second. Stay? Oh, bless you. You don't want to leave. Okay. Oh, let me... Sorry. Yeah, that door is fucking weird. bloody ridiculous, and that's not even the toughest door. There's another door that you just can't even close. Like, you probably could if you like slammed into it full power, but then you'd have to be able to do that you wouldn't be able to open it again without slamming. Yeah, it's crazy. So sorry if you can hear the knocking, it's really fucking annoying. Anyway, this guy, he sold me these pills, and I was just taking them, and she was just chilling, like. And I thought, like, oh, we're going to hang out and, like, do shit. And, like, we were hanging out for a pretty short time. We just, like, walked around London or something. And the pills weren't really kicking in. Now, by this point, like, I took, like, one and then waited a bit. And then I took another and waited a bit. And I felt like I could kind of feel something. Once in a while, I started to think, oh, yeah, there it is. But I think also I was thinking, like, the social weirdness of the situation was making me not come up. I was, like, super shy and just weird. And I just was like, it wasn't really working. And then it just I felt really weird. Like, I felt like I would come up, like, a little bit, like the tiniest bit. It felt kind of bad. It didn't really feel nice. And it's meant to be this kind of gradual building, and that can be quite anxiety inducing, the gradual building of this sensation. But this was more like up a bit and then like right down and then kind of up a bit and like right down again. And it was really unpleasant. Not really unpleasant at this point, but it wasn't nice. I was not able to relax and be myself. I wasn't normally anyway able to relax and be myself, but it was making it even harder. I was being quite weird. And, she was like, how are those pills? And I was like, yeah, fine. I just was trying to act normal basically and be like, yeah, it's fun. And if someone's having a good time on pills, it's pretty obvious. It's not hard to spot. And I remember, like, she left and I was talking to other people and they were like, I was telling them I was on pills, and they were like, oh, you don't really seem like you're on pills. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, quite nice. And I think I ended up taking quite a few. And I went back to my room and I was talking to people on Facebook, and it felt quite like, at times I felt quite good. I had this, this sort of, especially when you're that age and you're not very well put together mentally, you get these kind of manic or something, I don't know, slightly unhinged kind of upswings of energy and euphoria, and you just like randomly want to like talk to people on Facebook. And I was a bit like that anyway. Sorry about the noise. I'm gonna wait for it to stop and edit it out. So just editing out a bit of drilling there. Maybe I didn't edit it out, maybe you can't even hear it, so I just left that bit in. But either way, yeah, that's why I stopped. I'm just gonna do that when the drilling happens. I'll just wait and then I can just trim, so you'll know what's happening if you're watching the video. So yeah, I remember chatting to people on Facebook, and at times I felt like, I wouldn't say I was having a good time. It was clearly a weird time, not just chemically, but just, in my life at that time, just socially and psychologically, horrid time, really terrible. Terrible in the sense, sometimes the worst times when you remember them, it's not because of the discomfort or like the bad feelings you were experiencing, it's because of the lack of connection with yourself you had at the time. I think, like, for me, the worst memories are times when I didn't feel myself, when I didn't feel like I was myself, when I felt overcome by anxiety and addiction and stuff like that, and I felt like I was not acting in the way that deep down in my core I would really like to, and that I wasn't really connected with what was going on. And it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought that you can go back to a place, you can come away from a place like that and maybe go back to it. It's something that worries me, is like, I feel so much better now. I don't want to ever be so disconnected from, I don't know what the word is, but I don't ever want to be like that again, I love having clarity. So yeah, and I was alright. And then it started to get a bit weird, and I started to feel quite sick, basically. I was like talking to people, and then I was like, oh, I've got to lie down on the bed. And I went and got on the bed, and I was really like, I would go through phases of starting to like, like bob my head to like nothing. I remember there was like no music on, and I was on the bed, and I was like, yeah, I feel alright. And like trying to, you almost try and make yourself come up. You go through the same sort of physical like tics or whatever that you go through when you come out, when you start thinking, oh yeah, I'm grinding my teeth, here we go, maybe I'll just, and you start kind of like clinging on to something that's not there, and you're trying to like squeeze some pleasure out of this experience with your mind and body, and it wasn't working. And then I would start feeling very sick, and then I started to get a cold sweat on, and then I started to get really sick, and I started thinking like, this is pretty bad. I feel really like really kind of nauseous and dizzy, and my temperatures are all over the place, and I have a really bad like cold sweat. And eventually it got to the point where I remember I really thought I was going to die. I was lying on the floor in the shower, and I had the shower on like cold, and I couldn't sit or stand. I was literally like completely in a heap on the floor with the shower on me. And you know, now I can like, I enjoy a cold shower sort of, but then I would never even been in one. But it was that I felt that weird that like I was like, I have to just be in the cold shower. I guess what I'm saying, it wasn't a small thing for me to lie down on the floor with the shower on full. You know, I really felt like I was dying, like I was convinced I was going to die. Which maybe it was over the top, but I was sort of on my own, and I didn't really want to call anyone, and I didn't really have anyone to call. And I was in this tiny shower cubicle, like in the sort of hall's room I had. It was a really small room, and I just was like, I was just like, man, I'm so fucking lonely. Like, probably just gonna die here in the fucking shower. I laid there for a really long time. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember if I threw up or what. But I found out later on from another guy who was like in the know. He said, oh, were they blue question marks? And I said, yeah. And he said, oh, there's some of those going around that have Valium in. I don't know. It seemed to me like it wasn't just Valium and MDMA, because I've had Valium and MDMA before, and it didn't feel like that. Obviously, you shouldn't take Valium and MDMA at the same time, like as in like, you know, while you're coming up from MDMA but like I don't think that's the effect that it really has. I understand the logic because I was like going up and down and whatever, so it kind of made sense to me at the time, but in hindsight it seems to me like there had to have been something more than just Valium and MDMA. But it also could have been the social discomfort I'd experienced, that again, like now I would process an experience like that directly, but I do genuinely believe sometimes when you're not capable of processing experiences, or some part of you is afraid to, or you don't feel ready, you internalize them in some strange way. And I don't think it's like woo woo or whatever to think that they can like genuinely come out in strange, seemingly completely unrelated or unexpected ways, such as physical illness or very unusual behaviors elsewhere. I think that's pretty much like commonplace in people, really. I think like you just, yeah, so it could have been that. I could have just been having a combination of reaction to shitty pills, and also it was greatly heightened by my sort of mental state at the time that sort of plunged me into feeling incredibly ill. But yeah, not nice. Yeah, it was different to the type of ill you get as well from like smoking too much weed or drinking too much or whatever. You know, it just felt more like impending death. I don't know why. That was a very bad night. It went on for hours. I was there for so long, and yeah, I think after a while I just got into bed and was like, okay, I guess I'm not dead. So that guy was a fucking prick, whoever sold me those. Max, fucking dick, fucking bald before I was, so I can, you know, use it as a pejorative. Fucking bald idiot, Max. Probably even balder now. He probably now literally can grow about 12 hairs. He was as bald as, you know, back then. So people who are balder than me make me sick, and they make me kind of jealous actually, because like part of me is like, I wish it would hurry up and just go all the way, so I'm just like shiny on top, and all I have to shave is the sides and the back, even though they're the most annoying bits to shave. The top is a dream to shave, but yeah, it's like a bit sort of like, I'm like, my hairline is literally like up here. It might as well just fuck off, really. Like, and it's going at the top as well, like a bald spot, and I'm glad. I'm like, thank God, you know, because that bit is definitely the worst bit to shave, because you have to shave it in like 10 different angles, and you always end up like sore. I had a pretty fucking smooth shave today, actually. Still got some here though. You can feel it, and it starts to like drive you a bit mad, because you're like, like I thought I had it all, but then when you pull your thing up, you're like, oh yeah, there's a lot of hair there I missed. You want it to just be like smooth as an egg. Eggs are not actually smooth in that way. They're not slick. What are you doing? She's got a little bandage on. I think she kept licking her thing, so that's why she's got that pink thing. It's not like a weird sort of penis. You know how some male dogs have, well, all male dogs have those horrifying penises. So I just got a blue screen of death in the middle of filming. So I lost part of the video. Not much, really. Yeah, but basically I was saying that by the time I was like older, like I dropped out and I moved back to Barnet, and like weed was fine. It wasn't really a big problem with weed there. Like, you know, we didn't get like ripped off really. The bags were just a bit crap, but you know, like you'd always get a bag and it was usually like not too terrible. But what would happen, like we started doing a lot of MDMA, or I started doing a lot of MDMA really, like, yeah, you just get sold bunk randomly. You just like, it would happen probably like 1 out of every 7 or 8 times. You just get sold bunk, you know, and it just would do nothing, and you'd keep being like, oh, maybe I'm going to come up, and then like 5 hours later, you're sort of like, maybe I'm going to come up. Maybe it's because I smoked weed earlier or something, and soon it will kick in, and then you just go to bed, like still just like, maybe I'm going to come up and I'll have to get out of bed. And then you know deep down that you're not going to, and you feel really depressed. But yeah, usually it just didn't do anything. That was all that seemed to happen. It just, nothing happened, usually. Like, you didn't feel bad or anything. I think it was just nothing, you know? And there was one guy who was pretty annoying. I had decided in the sort of lost part of the video that I previously filmed to call him Nebby. I settled on Nebby because it's a suitably annoying name for this guy. Yeah, he was always like, he would send these mad texts advertising the weed. It was like 3 paragraphs but squashed into one, and it would just be like adjectives and some like nouns thrown in to describe the weed, you know, just like boom, bang, piff, haze, AK, crazy, makes you go mad, fucking killer, stonk, crun, like, it's like, wow. It would go on, they would be literally like 4 or 5 times longer than that. It would take up a whole page, like a whole SMS page, and you're just like, fucking, it's just weed, it's just normal weed, stop. And he was really annoying. Like, yeah, he was fine, really. Like, I mean, he's just an idiot, basically. But he would just tell you all the time he was going to be X amount of time, and then he would be this amount of time. And by this point, you know, we were sort of adults, so it was like a lot more annoying. I say sort of adults, you know, but like we were enough where, yeah, you know, we had like some stuff to do that wasn't just like playing computer games, you know. Not really. I mean, that was pretty much still just what we did. But yeah, in theory, we could have had important things to do. And so yeah, it just got really annoying, and we put off him for years. And then one time I had a friend come and stay for the weekend, and we bought some MDMA from this guy, and again it was just complete bunk, like, and it was a kind of a weird weekend. Like, we'd been tripping and we wanted to have the MDMA, I think, like with the acid, or maybe like the next day, but like it would have been probably actually quite good to have it, you know. It would have been a good way to like smooth things over after what had been a strange weekend, you know. And it might have just been like, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, he just sold us some fucking rubbish, basically, whatever it was. I mean, it definitely didn't work. Like, we all were just like, no, nothing, you know, like literally nothing happened. Not even a weird feeling. You can't really take MDMA in those quantities and, you know, to split a gram between 3 people and nothing to happen at all. It's just bunk. And whoever sold it to you knows it's bunk, or they just don't give a shit and they have no quality control, and they're just like, oh, there you go, you know. And it's not on, really. I think it's just not on. It's like, if I'm to treat you as legitimate, if you're a dealer, like I'm to treat you as legitimate, then you have to treat yourself as legitimate, and you have to be legitimate. Like, if you think it's wrong to sell people MDMA, then don't do it. And if you think that it's fine, then do it nicely. Because of me, I just want the fucking 40 quid or whatever. It's fucking stupid. Yeah, I understand people doing it when they're like kids, when they're like teenagers, but this guy was like an adult, and it was really fucking annoying. And so it happened quite a few times, and then this one weekend, it was just like, it just really fucking took the biscuit. And afterwards, I was like, the following day or whatever, I just started texting him and getting into it, and I was just like, you're a fucking dick. Like, what you've sold us is rubbish, and nothing happened. You're just selling shit. You don't even care. Like, you have no respect for anybody. You're fucking late constantly. You're rude. You're just, basically, you make a living being a dick, and it's pathetic and stuff. And he was like, yeah, man, fucking, I'd like to see you say this shit to my face. And like, I wasn't, certainly at that time, I wasn't the like say things to people's face kind of guy. But he wasn't exactly someone whose face you wouldn't want to say it to. You know what I mean? He wasn't a threatening guy himself. I guess to some degree he was, in the sense that he was like a dealer, and he hung out with a lot of other dealers, and he always had like guys with him, and he seemed to know a lot of criminals. But on his own, he was not threatening at all. But moreover, it's like, so what if I wouldn't say it to you? Like, if I wouldn't say it to your face, that's because there's an implied threat of me being like stabbed or something. But that doesn't mean it's not true. Like, I was just saying this to him. He was like a fucking idiot, and I was just like, because I knew I was never going to buy from him again. Like, I was just like, that is it. That is like the fact. I'm never giving him another penny. There's other people I can buy weed off, and I'm never buying his MDMA again, because it's just a joke. And so I was just like unloading on him. I was never really done it to a dealer before. It was the first time where I was just like, you're just a fucking prick. Like, you're just a disgrace, basically. Like, it's fucking embarrassing that you behave like this, and you should fucking give me my money back, but you're not going to, because you're a fucking dick, and you don't care about anybody but yourself, and you're an idiot, basically. And he was like, yeah, well, like, say it to my face next time you pick up off me. And I was like, I'm not going to pick up with you again. And I was like, what, you want me to come and fight you? You want me to fight you over this? Like, and then I can't say what I said, but like, I'm not going to, because I'm not basically a very stupid person, is probably how I can say it on here. And I think he was a bit stumped by that, suggestion. Like, I was like, why would I fight you? Like, I like my life, which was not actually true at the time, really. But, I cared about it. I didn't, you know what I mean? It was like, I'm just telling you how I feel because I can. I'm not going to come and get into a street fight with you over your honor. It's just, ridiculous. And that was pretty funny in a way. I felt at the time, I was like, well, I definitely can't buy from him ever again. Like, that is definitely it. I really and I'd known him for years at this point, I guess. And then also it was just quite funny. And then my friend picked up with him again, and he was like, yeah, Nebby like mentioned that incident to me, and apparently he didn't seem really angry. He was like, yeah, I don't know, man, I guess he was pissed off. Yeah, he seemed pretty pissed off. I think some part of it got through to him on some level. I think some of it, he was like, yeah, I guess this is kind of true. Like, I'm just a real nuisance. Like, this is a bad way to make money. Because I don't think he was a total dick, like, deep down to the core. He was, relatively young, like, and just a bit of an idiot. Like, so I think it did make him think, like, yeah, is that really what you want to, like, the legacy you want to leave behind for yourself? Like, yeah, I made some really small time cash. I ruined some people's weekends. Got arrested a few times for petty crimes. Yeah. And he was saying at one point, he was like, I was telling him, I was getting, I was being sort of self-righteous about, I was like telling him what I thought he was doing was wrong morally. And he was like, bro, I don't give a shit. You think I give a shit? Last weekend, I took my girl to Paris. Ha ha ha. I'm pausing it. I paused it in case it cuts out again. Yeah, his uncle was cool. No, not his uncle. We used to call him uncle. we'll just say Uncle Steve. He wasn't anybody's, well, he was someone's uncle, I'm sure, but like no one that we knew. For some reason, we just like, it was like his father-in-law or something, and he called him Uncle Steve. But you know, yeah, obviously he had a different name, but I've appropriated it as Steve. I don't know if appropriated is the right word. And he was really cool. He was older, and this guy was like, the girl he went to Paris with was this guy's daughter, and he was running around selling fucking 20 bags of weed for him. So I don't really know what that was about, but he liked to smoke himself big time. And he's one of those older stoners. They're just different, you know, and like it was strange to buy weed from him, to be honest. He was like the same age as our dads almost, but he was really cool. He was really sound. Yeah, I continued to buy off him. I think at one point Nebby said that he wasn't supposed to sell to me or something, but he was like, I don't care. Like, it's none of, you know. He told me about it and was like, I told him I don't give a shit and I'm going to sell to you. Yeah, that was all. I can't remember if there were any other times getting ripped off. I'll have to do a part 2 if I think of any. I'm sure there were many, many, many other noteworthy times, but that's all I can remember. Let me check. My list is gone. Where is it? Yeah, no, it's gone because of the blue screen of death, along with actually a lot of lyrics I didn't save, but perhaps I didn't save them because I sort of wasn't really that bothered about them. Strange, though. Those are gone, like tears in the rain. Alright, chaps, cool. Hope you're all well. Thanks for watching, as usual.